the security dialogue.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I welcome you once again, cherished viewers, to the Security Dialogue on Muslim Television and Media International. I promise bringing you the concluding part of our discussion on the impact of domestic violence on national security. And last week, I had a very wonderful person helping me and helping you and I to understand our various roles in bringing up the children within the community for them to become useful and become resourceful in society and for us to grow our nation in terms of security, because they are very important. And we try to touch on the various aspects, looking at it from the economic point of view. We are looking at it from even the hardcore security provisions that we need to have. And we talked about the internal threats that this domestic violence poses on us as a people, and the need for us to put in preventive measures to secure the vulnerability of these children. Today, I still have here in the studio Dr. Letitia Adelaide Appiah, who is the Executive Director of the National Population Council, to help us end the concluding part. And we are going to look at issue of radicalization. This abuse that we meant out to these young ones. We talked about some of the effects, but we want to see, because currently there's a lot of threats when it comes to violent extremism, when it comes to terrorism. We have seen Boko Haram abducting children from schools here and there and being radicalized. You know, they try to indoctrinate them and push them to perpetrate a lot of things. We have seen child soldiers. Some of the children may not have joined some of this group, but for the mere fact that he or she is not happy at home, some of them may even run to join this group. But we want to understand it from a very professional angle. And so today we'll look at the impact, again, from a radicalized angle, looking at the threats or some of the security threats that we have or we are anticipating. And so, Doug, I want to welcome you once again to the studios of MTA International.
Thank you once again for having me.
I'm always happy to have you on my set.
I'm also always happy to be here.
You know, it's not easy to find mothers like that. So, in our first part, we talked about how domestic violence is, the various forms of abuses. I gave some statistics when it comes to defilement and all the effect, the causes and all of that. And then we got to the responses, and you gave us some of the responses as a way that as a people, even within the community, we need to, I think it's a collective effort that we, I mean, the imams, the pastors, the chiefs, the queen mothers, all of us are supposed to come together to be able to protect these children. Not only children, but even men and women as well, because they can also be vulnerable in one way or the other. Now, let's look at sanctions. Of course, definitely you are going to have people who will go wayward, irrespective of whatever preventive measures that we put in place. And that is why I'm sure they enacted the Act 732. So what are the sanctions that these deviant individuals are supposed to face when they go wayward? Because we are looking at protecting these young ones who will become our future protectors.
Yeah, it's important. You see, nature protects its most vulnerable. That is why in your mother's womb, you are at the most secure place. Because you are vulnerable. And that is what we have to learn from nature, that we have to protect our vulnerable. When they are born, the children are the most vulnerable, and so need the protection, you know. And sanctions are some of the ways of keeping us in check. If you look at outside, pedophiles, at times they come to places where the sanctions do not work and ply their trade because of the system that it's over there. So it is important that we also focus on sanctions. And sanctions take so many forms. It's not just incarceration. Because when you incarcerate people, you have to feed them.
That is another cost.
That is another cost. You understand? So the person has given you a cost in the healthcare, giving you a cost in education, and giving you a course in incarceration. So we have to look at all those costs.
Triple do.
Triple do. That is it, you know. So incarceration, it's really not the end game, because incarceration also protects you. So people do not even know. But in places where they do not want to incarcerate, they post your pictures everywhere as a pedophile, protecting their children. Because what you do not know, you cannot keep yourself away from. We have, if you see something, say something. If you don't know what to see, how do you say it? But if you know that these are pedophiles in the community, then you can tell your other friends that this guy is a pedophile. And if it is done that way, the devil that makes them do would disappear, because it's a disgrace.
So they always apportion their act to the devil.
Yes, but then when they start showing their faces as pedophiles, keep away children, keep away children, keep away, others would learn from, because nobody will want to go through that.
So it means that even in that vein, yes, they are portioning this irresponsible act to the devil, means that there's that lack of religious security even in that zone. There's that lack of religious security, and there's also a hiding place. Because incarceration for me is a hiding place for those who rape. It is not deterrent enough. Then afterwards, the prison officers will come and say, 1 cedi, 20 pesos is not enough, so we should increase my taxes to feed them. You understand? So sanctions should be varied. And sanctions that does not also empower the victim is not good enough. How are we teaching our children how to identify a pedophile? Like I said, when you are born, you don't know anything. You can even fall in fire and you will not know, because you do not know. You can only know and react appropriately to something with adequate knowledge. Yeah. And that is why I had a problem with when we were talking about the reproductive health education and people were against. You cannot know something that you do not know. You understand? So it is important that even in sanctioning, we should still find a place to empower the people, young boys and girls. So it becomes more or less like a reformation. A reformation, because that is where sustainability is. Yes. We cannot incarcerate everybody. The other thing we also have to know is that at times, those who do it from a position of power. They are breadwinners. So you incarcerate the breadwinner, then now we are feeding the breadwinner, and what happens to them? The victim. Yes, what happens to the victim? I'm sure the victim will even be more vulnerable at that stage. Worse, at that stage. So in solving one problem, we should not create another. That is why it is important that we look at things holistically. And yes, sanction, but sanction should not be worse than... Like maybe 15 years in prison, yes. 25 years. Yes. Well, some of them why can't we have places in our communities where it's only pedophiles who are within that place? For instance, so become non-custodial... non-custodial sentences. So because we have a lot of greens, but we are not taking care of them. Meanwhile, you go to other countries and they are tendering their greens nicely. So why can't we say that for this stretch of road in this community, if you see anybody tendering the place, the person is a pedophile. So we are benefiting from them. You get it? And people would also not... you see, when people are held accountable openly, it's a deterrent. Okay. So it will also protect the children and then keep other men and make us a bit more responsible. So sanctions are okay, but I think we need to look at both the custodial and the non-custodial. Yes, and non-custodial, and the benefits thereof, because we are talking about sustainability and transformation of the society. Okay. Now, let's draw a linkage with DV on radicalization. Whether in your workings, have you come across a child who radicalized not only becoming part of maybe a V, like violent extremist group, but even on the streets? Because I quoted some statistics, and these are true figures from the Ghana Police Service. Yeah. And if you look at, in 2018, for instance, you look at robbery nationwide was around 1,854. Stealing was around 57,749. And then you even look at fraud. Today we have internet fraud, that is 17,004. I mean, these are, and some of them, you find them in that youthful group being part of all this crime that we are talking about. How do we draw that seemingly linkage between domestic violence and radicalization?
You see, domestic violence, we talk about rape, we talk about beating for all the reasons, some out of hunger. And so there's a saying that says that if the bird has learned to fly without perching, then the hunter will learn to shoot without missing. Or if the hunter has learned to shoot without missing, yes. If the hunter has learned to shoot without missing, then the bird will learn to fly without perching. So it's all about survival, you know? It's all about survival. We're talking about robbery, we're talking about all these. If you are a 6-year-old and you had no voice then, you had no choice then, your parents made the choice and took you to the Akosombo in Volta region to go and help them diving into the sea, and God helped you and you survived. And you see that this is risky, this is less risky, this you can do better. Which one would you do?
You would do the one which is less risky.
You would do the one which is less risky, because diving under the sea is not the best option. But then, now you have some skills that you can do robbery, you can do all those frauds. So we set the stage. And that is why last week we spoke about the ticking time bomb. Quality, not taking care of a child, is a ticking time bomb that detonates from time to time. It detonates in the form of robbery, it detonates in the form of all these that we are looking at. When we go back into it, we will see that these children
are coming from even broken homes because as a result of all of these abuses that we
You see, because the home does two things. The home is like the breeding ground for good or bad. It's like the military. They go to the camp to train, to fight. There's always a military training camp. And the home is the camps of citizens. So the home can either bring out the children at the feet of their mother, being heaven, or
being a hell.
So everything really is the home. When the home is okay, society will be okay, the nation will be okay. Society, the unit of any society is the family. You cannot go forward without the beginning. In the Bible, my first Bible is, in the beginning was the word. So the beginning is so important. The beginning of any nation is the family. And so radicalization starts from the family. You know, for good or bad, starts from the family. So we set the stage, these children go through this. These children on the streets, you think those we are seeing now are those we saw 10 years ago?
No.
No. So where are those we saw 10 years ago?
They have graduated.
They've graduated. Now they are doing galamsey.
Because that is a survival ground.
That's a survival ground. Now if we say that we are going to stop galamsey, we should be ready for increased armed robbery. Because nobody sits without any income or food and dies. Nobody does that. So if we are going to fight galamsey without looking at the root cause, then we should be ready to put all our policemen on our streets, and then everybody should be ready to have a gun, because that robbery will come up. Those are some of the consequences. You get it?
So I'm scared.
Well, yes, we have to be. It's not scary, but that's the reality. So you have to work every day knowing that today may be your last day because of the condition that we are creating in the society. You understand? So, fine. Now we close galamsey. Those who don't want to do robbery, and then you come and say, get this money, let's go and fight in this place. You think it's not. Children, young people have energy, they have strength, they have all that. But if they do not have faith and hope, then they can be radicalized.
The captain who was successful in the last coup in Burkina Faso, I'm told, is 35 years. So all this form parts of that aggressiveness of surviving.
Yes. You see, it is like, I don't know why we think that we are not part of nature. It's like the snake. The snake can be there if it's full, there's no problem. But when the snake is hungry and you try to attack it, it gets aggressive. And that's human, that's how the human beings are. If you do not get what sustains you for that harmony that we all created to be in harmony, if you do not get that and you are in that stressful state, then you're not very rational. You understand? And so, yes, in dealing with, if we do not deal with street children, we cannot deal with galamsey. If we do not deal with sexual, domestic violence, because which one is worse, getting into the pit or being raped in the home? So if you could have been raped in the home by your parents, your guardian when you were small, the pit is nothing.
So it's like we are actually driving our children to be more vulnerable.
We are driving our children to be more vulnerable. Why do you think that anybody in their rightful state, for instance, would do the trip from here to Europe and die in the Mediterranean?
Survival.
If nothing is pushing you. Nobody does that. But what is pushing you so hard that you would rather go? You talk to some of the people who have been abused in the Arab world, for instance, and they said it is better than here because of at least the monies that you are getting. Why do we create such a society and then we attempt to run away from it when we can create a society that...
I remember the last time you were trying to share with us, I think a young lady who, as a result of rape...
child marriage. Yes, she was in school and then she was taken out of school to marry somebody older than the father. I think she was a third or fourth wife. She got HIV/AIDS from the man, you know, and then she just ran away from home, went to Circle, and she said, well, so that's it. So she's also giving it to the people.
Back to where it came from.
Back to where it came from. But it's biblical. You give what you have. What society gives you, you give society back. If society gives you patriotism, you give patriotism back. You know, when we say that you do not ask your nation what you give, but what you can give to your nation. Because the nation has given you something. So now when you are in position, you will ask, what can I give to the nation? If the nation has not given you anything when you are vulnerable, the nation has no right in asking you what to give. Because what you give, what you get is what you give. If you gave me bitterness, you can only multiply the bitterness. It's like a seed. When you sow a seed of orange, you get many oranges. You don't get one, you get many.
Yeah.
So when you sow bad seed also.
Now until you also get multiplication of
the bad.
I mean, this is for me, like I'm saying, as somebody who is a trained military person, I'm actually scared because you look at, for instance, the porous nature of our borders, and now we even have galamsey sites. Before, we didn't have galamsey sites around the northern part of the country, but currently we have. And if you look at the cross-border activities and all of this, so if that space is becoming a safe haven for people who are being abused domestically, then the comeback. And that's what, so when we scale up the radicalization to the VE, which is the violent extremism and then terrorism level, then that cross-border, they go probably come back, and then they want to now pay back whatever that we gave them.
Yes.
Because they are even going to learn more.
They're going to learn more. But that is it. You see, human beings are creatures of experience and multiplication. So when you talk about development, for instance, it is development and human security. So the more you secure the human, the more development you get, and then it's a ripple effect.
Do you see education as one of the ways that we can actually apply to curbing some of these issues? I mean, and I'm talking about education from the informal and then from the formal, because recently I spoke with a teacher who is in charge of, you know, they have, when you go to the Ministry of Education, they have girl child in some department. So and like the way you said, I mean, she was like, my brother, these girls, they don't have common sanitary pad, they are going through this, they are that. Some of them will be in class, they will come and call them to go to farm, they do this. So how can we, you know, from the back of education, how can we really
You see, so you have said it rightly. They will come and call them to go to the farm. They've gone to school. They come and call them to go to the farm. So if the home does not understand the school, and the home is not sustainable, the school does not help, because then it becomes cosmetic. He goes to school by the outcome, because school is not an end in itself, but the outcome of the school is what gives you the mileage. And so if the home setting, that's what I'm saying, the home, you cannot have education without the home. The basic of any quality education is health, and health is manufactured from the home. So you can't delineate the home from the school. You can do something, but you will not get the outcomes that you want. So we still have to go back to the school, to the home. We're talking about the home. If you have for instance, I have 6 children. You will go to school. You come back. You have to carry the others. So what time are you going to learn? And then, so what are the results going to be like? But if I understand that quality is what should determine my numbers, and I have 1 or 2, and I'm also educated, then when you come, I'll be able to take you through your homework. Then the school becomes useful. So it's a continuum from home to school to community. We cannot pick and choose.
Then I think that the vision of maybe the free SHS, for instance, or the fact that we are trying to give, and in time past we saw some of our leaders also helping by distributing sanitary pads to even some of these young ones in schools and providing them with certain. Is this something that we are doing it well in?
You see, I think the guiding principle is sustainability.
Okay.
And the foundation of that sustainability is health.
Okay.
Health is part of human capital. Okay. It's not just education. Human capital is by health, education, and work experience. These 3. You cannot pick and choose whichever. But the beginning of it is health. So whatever we will do to get health for everybody is what we have to do. Because ill health takes away from everybody your time, your energy, your finances. So health should be the foundation. And that, for me, should drive the numbers. Yes. Health should drive the numbers.
If not, we will not have a healthy population. Of course, our security will be in dire consequences.
It's not only our security, everything will be in dire consequences. Because you see, if you are not healthy, you cannot even be physically or mentally fit, especially in this economy, which is manual. So you need help to be physically fit. You get it? And then abstain from work, and then take care of your siblings or your people who are sick and bury them. So health, normally healthy people don't die just like that, apart from in old age. It's only sick people who die. And so health is not advantageous to anybody. So why do we create a condition of ill health all the time? You know, and ill health starts from nutrition. Nutrition starts from, so it is that basic, but we just not appreciate it.
Because even with that, when it comes to food security, I had a discussion with one expert, and we were talking about food security, and he talked about quality. Yes. Because the food can be there, but of course it's not quality. Yes. So what is the need?
So you eat the food, then you don't have the micronutrients, and so your brain is underdeveloped. Then the best teacher will teach you, you can't see, understand anything or hear anything. So what's the use?
Then they will find them on the streets because
so find them on the streets. And as for radicalization, you don't need to think too much. You just need the physical to do. So you find a way out over there. You get it.
Look, so we are going. We will end very soon. So what are the? Of course, I mean there's the DOSU outfit which supports these young ones. Sometimes they give them counseling and all of that. What else can we do?
I think what we can do is a collective. Like I said in the beginning, you see the seas, they have that long tower. What do they call it? The lighthouse.
Yes.
So it sees. You get it. So MPC is like the lighthouse.
Okay.
It's telling us that this population issue, the way we are going, we cannot get to where we want to get to. The Sustainable Development Goals will elude us. The Africa we want will not be in our reach. And so that is the sounding. So collectively, what can the religious do? What can the traditional do? What can the authorities, the government authorities do? It is a collective. And if one person is not doing, we have to support each other to do. Because we are sounding it. But if nobody is listening to it, then we'll all be taken by surprise. Or not by surprise, I mean, because where we are going, we know where we are heading towards.
Yeah.
Then it will consume all of us.
Doug, your final words
My final word
to us as a people.
My final word is that security has two wings.
Okay.
Internal security, external security. And for internal security, we need to look at gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is the unit of terrible internal security, and that will thwart our external security efforts. So security has to be comprehensive. We have to look at the military and civil balance. And the gender issue is so central to security, because national security should be based on human security, individual human security, and national development. That should be the security policy that we should have.
That should be the security policy that we have. And when you read the National Security Strategy, which was formulated in 2020, I'm sure you will get strands of what Doug is talking about. And she says it's a collective effort. So if you are watching us, you have a role to play. And with us here, as a station, we have taken it upon ourselves to educate, and that is why we bring experts like Dr. Letitia Adlid-Appiah, who is the Executive Director of the National Population Council, for us to engage and educate and inform us to be able to help grow our society. And she says that health is part of human capital. The abuses that we mentor out to these young ones, or to people within the community, within the home, within the society, be it a man, be it a woman, be it children, it is something that we need to take a second look at. Rather, we need to protect this vulnerable individual so that together we can have a very healthy community, a very healthy nation. So we can stand the test of time, looking at all the vulnerabilities when it comes to issues of radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism, where we have seen children being radicalized, and cross-border activity, they go and they come and they become more terror in society. Issues of galamsey, we have seen some of the children, because of abuses in home, they run away to these places and they are welcomed and they are used in various ways. I mean, child labor, we've seen the numbers increasing when it comes to child labor, when it comes to child trafficking, when it comes to issues of robbery, fraud. All these things are remnants of some of the abuses that we mentor out to these children. And they will run away from home and you may not even find them. And when they come back, it is a dire consequence, not only on the family, not the community, but the nation as a whole. Until we come your way, same time, my name is Sadiq Educhum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.